Hi there my furry friends, welcome to this video YouTube channel. This week's going to be more for you fursuiters, beginner fursuiters, and especially fursuiters to be. So last week's video was about my Torino Xmas comics outing with as Firi, and this is why I thought this would be a good video to make, especially since it's not a furry convention. This was just a general comics cosplay convention. So there are several things that you need to know about this, especially because there is a difference between a furry con and a non-furry con. You are obviously going to have furry friendly participants at a furry con. That being said, you can still get trolls, so do watch out, please. You're going to have staff who knows about furries, knows what the problems can be. And it's all going to be about furries in a furry con, obviously. On the other hand, you've got non-furry cons where they do not have any idea of what you are. And obviously you are out in the public and you can encounter people who have negative stereotype ideas about furries, or just plain weirdos. I mean, you get plain weirdos anywhere, unfortunately. So that's why you need to be careful. I personally had an extremely fun time at Torino Xmas Comics, but I must admit that I did have two encounters that I would have to classify as negative. One was a direct interaction with a group of people of whom one seemed to think it was normal and assumed that I would want to touch them inappropriately, and the others thought that this was funny. Obviously for them, they had some strange idea about the furry, and then being target of their cosplay weapons, which, although it is a normal sort of pose for cosplay photo shoots, in this case it just felt negative to me. Something wasn't right. I did do a similar photo shoot with some other people and they were lovely. They were much lighter, talking about my costume. They were much more sort of a kind approach. Just in this case, you have to trust your gut. You do not really know, obviously, but just listen to what your instincts tell you. Move away, keep your paws to yourself, and if you have a handler, they can help guide you away. And whatever you do, avoid any confrontation. In a non-furry con, some might just assume you are a cosplayer of some sorts, of some creature, obviously. But some will know about the word furry, some will know what it is, and some will not really know what it is, and some will have ideas already established in their mind. And here, obviously, it can have positive or negative undertones. In my case, for example, I could hear at some point somebody say the word furry, so I sort of was like, oh, what's happening? And then I could hear, I couldn't understand the actual words. I mean, in Italian and through a fursuit head, I couldn't grasp the words themselves, but I felt that the intonation wasn't right. It was murmuring, it was not open and keen to see me, sort of murmuring, and it wasn't excitement. It was murmuring in the background. And in this case, same thing, it's just a question of listening to what you feel as an instinct and just moving on. Don't worry about it, don't try to confront it, just keep going. Remember, you are representing the furry fandom, so please, please, please keep your behavior as impeccable as possible. You are here to give an idea of what a furry is to all these people who do not know it. So please do not cause havoc, do not damage anything, don't give a bad impression, and that way help promote furry world. For the actual fursuiting stuff, there are two different things to take into consideration. The first thing is general safety. Remember, you have limited hearing, limited visibility, limited ventilation. All this, when you're fursuiting, is quite dangerous, so do be careful. There are many obstacles and dangers around, especially if you're outside in public. Even for any convention, outside in the car park can be dangerous. You've got all sorts of steps and lumps and rocks and anything that could trip you up is going to be dangerous for you. So please, when you're outside, you definitely need somebody who is not in a suit accompanying you and helping you. At a furry convention, ideally one would need a handler, but I find that it is possible to manage without a handler. Tricky, but possible. I so far have done 2 conventions and have just about managed without a handler. There was only for the meetup and the one of the conventions where we had a fursuit walk outside. In this case, I did get help from a fellow furry. The furry cons inside, normally you're okay because you've got a fursuit lounge. Other fursuiters know what problems you can have and can assist you. You've got the staff around who also know the problems you have. You've got people sometimes out with water packs to help hand out any hydrating drinks or just plain water as well. So you're well surrounded in a furry convention. Whereas outside of that, when you're not in a furry convention, I would really highly recommend you to have a handler with you, somebody who is not in suit and who can look out for your safety. And the main thing to be careful about in this case is also children and animals. And when I say this, there's on the physical front, which means don't step on them, don't knock them over, be careful when you're walking, don't walk into them basically. But also on another front, you have to be particularly aware that children and animals can be afraid of you. Especially small children can be afraid of you. Animals, be very careful. They do not understand what you are. And it's understandable. I mean, obviously you're some weird creature, you're big. For both animals and children, you can be quite scary. So for the animals, keep clear, keep your distance, give them enough space so that they feel safe, and move on. For children, you have to observe carefully. If they come rushing over to you to say hello and to take a photo, fine, that's great, wonderful. But remember that some parents will be trying to get their kid to take a photo with you, and the kid might be frightened of you. So do try to do things like kneeling down. You can kneel down to seem a bit less impressive to them. You can say, well, wave hi, give them a high five, or try to gesture a high five at least to show them that you're being nice. For example, with Firi, because Firi is quite a dark sort of looking character, the fur is quite dark, and with the horns and the fluff, the big ears, it creates quite an imposing figure sometimes for a child. And so my way of trying to work around this is that actually Firi is quite timid. So Firi is sort of like hiding from them and playing peekaboo with them. So, and I mean, yeah, some children do react to that positively. They start to realize that I'm funny and stuff, or they say, oh, look, they're frightened as well. So we get onto the same level. Whereas, unfortunately, yes, there'll be some children who'll just be frightened. So just give them a little wave and move on. Take the picture for the parent. Let the parents take the picture if they want to. That's fine. But do not try to insist. And try to get your handler to explain to the parents not to insist if they really are pushing the child too much. Also, a note about children. Watch out. Outside of the taking a photo context or just saying hi context, please be careful. Children can sometimes be too rough with your suit. They want to pull the fur, they want to pull the tail, the ears, any part that might be sort of fragile on your suit. Do be careful. If you've got eyebrows, magnetic eyebrows, and they come to touch you, watch out that they don't pull one off and go off with it or lose it. This is something which you must make sure that your handler is going to protect you from. Also, watch out for dirty hands, whether they've got food or drinks in their hands or any other substance, sticky stuff on their hands. You do not want them touching your suit if they're like this. So please remember, children can be dangerous. Get your handler to protect you. Next major issue is going to be your personal capacity to fursuit. How often do you need breaks? What are the problems that you personally have first? The main ones being overheating, dehydration, exhaustion, toilet breaks, and muscle stress. So please be aware of what your body can do. If you do not know, either you can refer to your previous experiences and work off that. If you do not have any previous experience, always have a getaway plan. Always know, either when you first arrive at the con, find an area where you think, right, I can always escape here, take off the suit if I need to, or you can if you can get back to the car safely, if you can get back to the car and somebody can drive you home safely, and anything so that you know what you can do if you are not feeling well. In my case, I have only fursuited for over 2.5 hours maximum in one go, doing maybe like 2-3 outings in a day at a convention, a furry convention, and that would be like 1 hour, 1.5 hours in the morning, maybe an hour and a half in the afternoon, and then anything between 2.5 hours down to 45 minutes in the evening when I want to go out clubbing, which over a convention each day, that period of time lessened. As I said, the minimum I got down to 45 minutes once, just because it was the last day. My energy level had just plummeted by then. So this outing was actually quite daunting for me because I knew I would have to suit up at home. I had at least 25 minutes drive to get there, and we didn't know how long we were going to stay in this place. So I thought probably about 4 hours. So it was a lot more than I had ever done before. In the end, we worked out that I got into my suit at about 9:50, 10 o'clock, and ended up arriving home at around 4:30, 4:20, 4:30. So I actually totaled about 6.5 hours, which was massive for me, at least for me. I did have a lunch break where I took the head off, the arms and the paws off, and I obviously ate. Also, I was quite pleased because in this case I actually had, you could actually buy meals, a proper dish meal as I call it, not just snack stuff. I actually got a dish of rice with chicken, so that was really, really welcome, and I really needed it by then. Lots of breaks for drinks, sitting down, going outside for some air at some point as well. That being said, for me, I was able to pretty much get away with that one moment where I took the head off completely over that sort of lunch period. This is mainly due to the fact that Firi has got quite a sort of specific feature. Firi actually has two parts to it. Firi's head has not got a jaw attached to it. The jaw is a separate piece. This is the jaw piece here, which is separate, which is really good because I can just get the jaw on like this, pull my elastics over the head. I'm just doing this quickly to show you, and then you pop the head on top like this. Now when you've got the head on like this, it's fine, but what is particularly interesting is that I can open up the head like this. So yeah, it looks a bit weird, but I don't have to take everything apart, and I can just sometimes, even compared to having it completely closed, I can even just push it up a little bit and have it slightly open, so I've got more air coming in. And this is particularly interesting. This is particularly interesting for me because that means I don't have to take the head off quite as much as others who have a one-piece head, who would probably have to take it off more often than that. So that's an interesting feature that was actually I made that by accident with Firi, but I certainly will be looking into keeping that sort of feature on other suits. Unfortunately, when it comes to removing the head and breaking the magic, there is quite a bit of a conflict here. Some people are really shocked when we remove the head and break that magic. It's like, oh my god, you shouldn't be doing that. However, yes, when a furry convention, you've got a fursuit lounge, so normally you've got a place to go and do that. But remember, the hotels are quite big sometimes. In Berlin, the Estral was pretty huge, and for me, the fursuit lounge was at one end of the hotel. I had to go all the way to the main entrance, which was pretty much on the other side of the hotel, and then I had to get to the lift, which nearly always had a huge queue to get in, and then I was up on the 13th floor. I was on the top floor, and it takes forever when you're overheating, when you're tired. It feels like an eternity to get from the fursuit lounge to there. So depending where you are, It sometimes just is necessary. And for me, there's only one rule. Just do it. It doesn't matter. Yes, it might break the magic. Yes, it's a shame, but your health comes first. Remember, you might even have to remove the suit if you really feel bad, but you must protect yourself. Your first signs are going to be a headache. Sometimes you can put up with that for a little bit, but you've got to keep an eye on it, because then the next thing is going to be dizziness, head spinning, nausea. So these are the first symptoms, and the dizziness and the nausea are not good. I got to that point at one point, not the nausea, but certainly the dizziness, and it was really hard just to get up into an elevator and get into the lift up to the top floor and into my room, and that was hard enough. So do be careful, because after that, and especially if the nausea starts to hit you as well, after that your whole body is going into crisis, and this can be dangerous for your health. So please take the head off, take the paws off, open your suit, anything to avoid reaching these points. Doesn't matter. Best if you can do it in the fursuit lounge, fine, but it doesn't matter. Do it wherever you are if you have to. So that's about it for the actual convention. Beforehand, you can look into things like drinking a bit more in the days before. Normally you should drink enough anyway, about between a litre and a half at least minimum. So try drinking more than that. If you really want to sort of try to build up a bit of boost, a little boost of energy, try to eat carbs, maybe a bit more protein, anything like that. On the day itself, try to organise your food and liquid intake so that you can go to the toilet just before you get into your suit. It's not easy, I admit, but if you can, that's the ideal scenario. And also have a good shower before getting into your suit. Remember to take easy snacks, easy to eat snacks, something that you can just pop into your, without taking the whole head off, something you can just pop into the mouth of your fursuit, for example, dry biscuits. And then the most important, always have some form of water source on you. Either as a bottle with a long straw. For example, I have a little bottle here, which I used this last time. So either you've got just a plain nozzle, plain open bottle. This is just an open neck bottle or any like plastic water bottle. In that case, if you want to keep your head on, you cannot tilt it without getting it all down yourself. So you will need some sort of long straw that you can put into your fursuit head muzzle. In my case, I've got a bottle here that's got a top that's got a special head to it. Any little head or a sport bottle, and it's got these little nozzles like that. They can allow you to tilt the bottle without getting all the water down yourself. Also with this bottle, that's quite interesting, I have actually bought this tube system. I haven't tried it yet. I'll let you know what I think about it when I try it. It's got the compatible head which attaches to this bottle, and that way I can have this hanging down somewhere outside. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get it under the suit, and have this coming inside the suit and into the head, which hopefully will make things easier if I'm on my own. That being said, it's still going to be limited, still relatively short lasting, because, for example, I drank 2 of these in the first drink stop we had. So it goes quickly, so do watch out, it will need filling up. Some people have bags with these nozzles. I never got mine to work very well, never seemed to be able to dry it properly, and in the end it got mold, so I had to give that one up. That's why I'm trying the nozzle with a bottle. If any of you have tried or have the bag system that you can hide in your suit, please let me know how you managed. I'd love to know how to manage that. That being said, if you've got it in your suit, it depends on what size bag you're going to use as well, because it will need replenishing quite often. It's rather contradictory, because you need to drink to protect yourself from overheating, but then again you need to not drink too much, because then you need to go to the toilet, which is a difficult complication that you want to try to avoid. Though people often think fursuits with openings are only mersuits, so suits for adult activities, I do believe openings permitting one to go to the toilet without having to take the whole fursuit off would be a practical solution, and so I shall be looking into that to try to improve the fursuit experience. So this pretty much covers the general health and safety sort of warnings to prepare for when one is going out fursuiting. As a side thing, I would have to say that maybe a little repair kit, a mini repair kit would be very practical, just in case you have an issue with your suit, because nothing worse than having a problem with your suit to ruin your fun. Either if a tear happens, or a seam opens, or something comes unglued, it's really sad. So it's always good to have something like a needle and thread, a small pair of scissors, safety pins, and maybe some super or cloth glue, at least just for a quick repair, just to hold things together to be able to continue your outing. So this should at least prepare you for the basics to stay safe, equipped, and when fursuiting. And yes, as I said, I did manage 6.5 hours, but I do feel like I have to say that though I didn't really feel too bad at the time, I did have a slight headache starting, which is why we sort of decided that's it, we ought to go. And I had sore feet, but that's because I've got heels, like heels in Firi's feet. So it wasn't too bad, but you have to remember that you can also be affected afterwards. What is so commonly known as con-crud after a convention is when you actually fall ill because you have overdone it. You have overdone all the hype, all the excitement, everything. It was all too much for your body, and so you generally can catch a cold, and so you've got all the sort of cold symptoms, nose, coughing, maybe, I don't know, feeling awful, feeling exhausted as well. So that's pretty bad, and you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. That's why in conventions they have the rule to be able to do 6-2-1. So it's 6 hours sleep, 2 meals a day, and 1 shower per day. I personally do not agree with that rule very much. It's not the best, I don't think. For me it would be, well, okay, 6 hours sleep minimum. Better 7, but I think, okay, 6 you might be able to get away with it, maybe. Depends on how much sleep you normally need. But I definitely say 3 meals a day. You need 3 meals a day, because it's exhausting. A convention is exhausting. Then afterwards, for the shower, as a fursuiter, I've never managed to be under 3 showers for the fursuiting, plus just a shower for myself. So I was at 4 showers a day. I think pretty much every time you fursuit, when you get out of fursuit, you probably need a shower. So that will depend on how many times you fursuit. In my case, this case was only a day outing. It wasn't a convention. When we got home, I crashed completely. I was exhausted. The euphoria of being out and about, having fun, just being out as in a fursuit is amazing, but it masks how tired you really get. I got home and I just couldn't do anything. I was lying inert on the sofa and half asleep, and only just managed, after 3 hours, about 2-3 hours, I managed to get up and get myself out of my suit and into the shower. But that was very difficult, and when I came to eat after that, I was hungry. I was hungry, but I could, and for those who know me, they know how much food is important to me. I felt like I was going to just fall in my plate. I did manage to eat a bit, and I basically went to bed. So do watch out for that backlash. I didn't get a cold or anything, so that was great, but it is exhausting. So please stay safe, stay hydrated, always keep drinking, water, not alcohol. I personally recommend not drinking alcohol. I think for the convention I had one tiny little glass of, what was it, Bailey's or something the first evening, and that was it. Better reduce the alcohol, because well, for me personally, I just don't think it's a good mix. Listen to your instincts, listen to your body. Tell your handler if you've got one. Tell them about the problems you can have. Tell them give them a little warning. If you're starting to get a bit of a headache, tell them. That way they know they can follow how you're going. Tell them if you do need assistance. Maybe make up some signals if it's a really noisy place. Have some signals to know if you need to drink, if you need to take your suit off, if you need help. For some people are over anxious, they sometimes just need a bit of quiet space, so you can form like a little ring with that person, maybe just to give you a little break from the overwhelming crowd around you, if that's your problem. They cannot always guess your state, so keep them informed. Always let them know. They'll probably check in with you as well and let them know. So stay safe, my furry friends, please. It's amazing to be able to wear a fursuit, so I really want you all to have the most fun possible whilst wearing your fursuit. So I hope this video helps give you an idea of what you need to be aware of, a few little tips, reminders as well of what you need to do. But just, yeah, have fun. Have fun with your suit. And huge hugs to you all. Bye!